tragedy began as a joke. On the evening of December the 20th, Wilson McCullough hosts this party, this get-together for those friends from Battleground Academy, a private school in Franklin. And the partiers included Samuel Folks, Clayton Beathard, Alva Bethurum, and Paul Douglas Trapini III, Patrick Wells and Campbell Parker, and Ms. Thovey Favre and her best friend, Emma Yoder. They start drinking. We have about 6 hours of surveillance video from the Dogwood Bar. On the Bar 2 side camera at 2:24 a.m., you'll see Wilson McCullough slapping Paul Trapini in the testicles as a joke. Moving on to 2:46 a.m. on the second floor stair top camera, you see Wilson McCullough and Mr. Mosley huddled together head to head watching Emma Yoder. Time after time, McCullough motions towards Emma, encouraging Mr. Mosley to approach her or to hit on her, as people say. Mosley one time does start to approach Emma, loses his nerve, does a 180 and goes back towards Mr. McCullough. But McCullough again exhorts Mosley to approach Emma. Left hand, right hand, kind of furtive movements, you know, holding a beer in one hand. This goes on for a full minute from 2:45 a.m. to 2:46 a.m. on the second floor stair top camera. And this is curious because Wilson McCullough and Emma Yoder have a romantic history. Now, I don't know at the time, maybe she was Sam Folk's girlfriend, but I guess we'll find out what he knew. But finally, Mr. Mosley does take the bait and approaches Emma. Wilson surveys the scene. He watches Mosley and Emma over here. And then he turns his attention to Samuel Folks over here. And a tall fella, I think his name is Campbell Parker, hands Mr. Folks a long neck beer. Folks takes the beer, upends it, stumbles back 2 steps, pivots to catch his balance, hands the beer back to Campbell Parker, and McCullough's over here waiting for him. And when Sam Folks comes up, he intercepts Folks. Folks is oblivious to any situation with Michael Mosley and Emma Yoder. So McCullough walks right past Michael Mosley and Emma Yoder, curls around to the top of the stair steps. You'll see him hang his left foot off the stair steps. He's there to spectate. Sam Folks finally figures out what's going on and springs into action like the jealous boyfriend he may be. And he confronts Mr. Mosley. Tells Mr. Mosley, back off, she's got a girlfriend. Mr. Mosley does back off, but Folks keeps berating Mr. Mosley for about 15 seconds. You can see it on the surveillance video, on the time code in the upper left-hand corner. 15 seconds plus, Mr. Mosley stands there and takes it. At that point, J.C. Harper does come back up the stairs. Mr. Mosley pulls her up, and she's his buddy girlfriend, pulls her up and lets these Battleground Academy people clear out. Then we go to the bottom of the staircase, and we see Mr. Sevilla there looking up the stairs, waiting for his friends to come down, Mr. Mosley and J.C. Harper and Sergio Alvarado. McCullough, Beathard, and Trapini pass by Mr. Sevilla, and they all motion up the stairs, so they recognize Mr. Sevilla in one fashion or another. And Mr. Beathard does a curious thing. He shakes his head left and moves his finger right, like telling him no. And we'll ask Mr. Sevilla what that meant. So anyway, Sam Folks hurries past Emma Yoder and then says something to McCullough and pushes, Clay Beathard out the front door. Daniel Sevilla waits for his group and then follows J.C. Harper out the door. Then we cut to the outside on the front exterior entry camera. Sam Folks finally turns around and waits for Emma to come. He backs up. Everyone else is facing Division Street waiting for their rides, but Folks keeps his eyes on the door. He stops first. He stops Alva Bethurm, says something. McCullough's chatting up Emma. The sidewalk is crowded. Mr. Mosley comes out with his friend Alvarado, and they kind of move to the left. And in the camera there, you can see Sam Folks. He does this thing, and he stops Mr. Mosley again. And then Mr. Mosley moves out into the street, and Folks is still mouthing, and then Mosley hits him, bam, bam. And then the whole crowd of people, they move over to the right, and then they're kind of coming to the left, and a guy in a white button-down shirt, I mean, he coolest guy around, looks at his phone, puts it in his pocket, goes over to this scrum of people, comes out with Michael Mosley in a chokehold, and while Mosley's in a chokehold, Wilson McCullough comes in and starts pounding him multiple times, and the whole crowd moves to the left. I mean, it's crazy. And bodies go flying, including Wilson McCullough, who then crashes into Tobey Fauver. It's hard to believe. So at this point, you'll see like that, Miss Fauver's on the ground, and then the last two Battleground Academy people come out, and one's a big 6'5" guy, David Bates, another's Patrick Wells. David Bates goes over and blocks off Wilson McCullough. McCullough's still trying to get into the fight. He's way over here now, but he can't get around McCullough. And Patrick Wells, also Foreman football player, 6 foot, 200 pounds, he goes and covers up Ms. Fauver and takes care of her. Then in the meantime, and this is at 2:48:39, you see a picture of Clayton Beathard holding Mr. Mosley in a headlock. And right about this time, 6'3" Alva Bethurm starts charging across the street. And then you get to 2:48:43, and Bethurm is pointing at Mr. Mosley and Sergio Alvarado. And that's on the front exterior entry camera and on the second floor west patio camera. Both cameras show both Beathard and Bethurm pointing at Mr. Mosley. So Beathard and Bethurm and the three men between them, including Paul Trapani, advance on Sergio and Mosley in a pincer movement. Sergio and Mr. Mosley, they start working back this way towards their cars. And at that point, Mr. Bethurm, he pushes J.C. Harper out of the way and then lunges and throws a belt-tie punch. And at the meantime, you see Michael Mosley back up like 2 steps. He's looking over at, I guess it's Bethurm over that way. Mr. Beathard's out in the street there. Mosley has his hands at his side. He's looking to the left. Clay Beathard charges from the street, winds up and throws a devastating sucker punch. Mosley crumples to the grass on the other side of the far sidewalk. And then Mr. Trapani runs in and standing over Mr. Mosley. And then a crazy thing, you got 2 wild cards, 2 Hispanic guys run from across the street and slam into Alva Bethurm's back, flattening him on the sidewalk. Don't know why. They're not related to the BGA people or Mr. Mosley. We can't figure that out. So then Mosley gets up and he strikes Beathard, and then Paul Trapani goes in, punching right, left, tearing the skin off his knuckles. Then at 2:49, I believe it's 2:49:06, Mr. Beathard, he just jogs back across the street, followed seconds later by Mr. Topini. 2:49:10, you see in the camera that Mr. Mosley and his group walk single file out to go to their cars. They never see Beathard and Topini go down. They don't know how seriously they're injured, but they get in their cars and go away. This is in the wee hours of a Saturday morning. And later that day, you know, the news reports 2 people deceased. Mr. Mosley contacts attorney Justin Johnson. Sunday afternoon, Johnson emails Detective Beavis. Doesn't hear anything back, then telephones Detective Beavis the next day. Detective Beavis says he's busy. Attorney Johnson never hears back again from Detective Beavis. Wednesday morning, Christmas Day, Detective Beavis and a SWAT team arrest Mr. Mosley out in Williamson County. 4 days later, Sunday, December 29, Detective Beavis is out at Battleground Academy in their library interviewing those people. He interviews Wilson McCullough, asked specifically if McCullough witnessed any interactions between Mr. Mosley and anyone in the BGA group. I didn't see anything happen inside the bar, says McCullough. I didn't see anyone get approached. And you, ladies and gentlemen, will be the judge of the truthfulness of Wilson McCullough. Thank you.